It started with a sound, a faint click, then a child's voice, soft, broken, warped by time. "Daddy?" Say it again. Static, then silence. The voice came from a small, melted piece of plastic. A toy, no bigger than a hand. Its surface blistered from heat, its speaker half burned away. But somehow, it still worked. The toy had been found inside the ruins of a burned cabin deep in the Kaibab forest, buried beneath decades of ash and dust. It was once bright pink, shaped like a bear that could record and replay sounds. The kind sold in the early 90s. Cheap, cheerful, forgettable. Except this one wasn't, because it belonged to a girl who vanished 21 years ago, along with her father. And when investigators restored it, they didn't just hear static. They heard him. The technician, a man named Daniel Ward, was the first to test it. He'd restored old tapes before, war footage, family cassettes, even crash recorders. But he'd never touched something that felt like it was waiting for him. He placed a tiny voice chip under a magnifier, its circuits warped but intact. He cleaned it gently, wired it to a modern reader, and connected his headphones. "Let's see what you're hiding," he whispered. The audio buzzed to life, a slow hiss of static, then the faint whir of old tape, then breathing, a man's breathing, ragged, uneven. "Lily, don't move." Daniel froze. He adjusted the dial. The voice became clearer. "If you're hearing this, stay away from the tree line." "They're not." The sentence cut off, replaced by a low hum, like a vibration under the ground. Then the child's voice again. "Daddy? Who's outside?" Daniel pulled off his headphones, heart pounding. He checked the waveform. The file was dated 1992. There shouldn't have been any power left in the device. No memory to hold a recording that long. And yet the file existed, undeniably real. He played it again. "Lily, if you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it back. But I need you to remember what I said." A pause, then faint crying. "Daddy, were you?" Inside the forest, the man said, voice trembling, "Don't follow me, no matter what you hear." Then came the distortion, a deep, hollow tone that grew louder until the recording cracked. Daniel stopped it. He sat back, staring at the toy like it might come alive. Because just before the tape ended, there was one last sound. A second voice. Not the man. Not the child. A whisper. He shouldn't have brought her here. Daniel's hand shook. He unplugged the reader. But the toy kept playing, even with no power source. It whispered again. He shouldn't have brought her here. He dropped it. It hit the table with a soft thud, and the recording restarted automatically. Only this time, the voice was different. Newer. Clearer. A man's voice again. The same one, but older. Hoarse. "It's been 21 years. If someone found this, please tell her I didn't mean to leave." Daniel froze. The message wasn't from 1992 anymore. It was dated October 9th, 2013. The toy had recorded again. 21 years after the man and his daughter vanished. And somehow, it still knew his voice. The year was 1992. A quiet spring in northern Arizona. The air was thin, the forest still, and a man named Michael Reynolds was driving an old pickup down a dirt road that hadn't seen a map in years. In the passenger seat, his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, held her favorite toy against her chest. A pink talking bear with a tiny red heart stitched across its belly. Every few minutes, she'd press the heart and giggle when the toy repeated her words. "Daddy, I love you. I love you. I love you." Her laughter filled the cab, the kind of laughter that made the world feel safe. Michael smiled, though his eyes were tired. It had been a long year. He was a single father now. His wife, Anna, had passed away suddenly the winter before. The trip wasn't meant to be an escape. It was meant to be a reset. A weekend at the cabin his father built decades ago, deep in the Kaibab National Forest. No phones, no noise, no neighbors. Just him, Lily, and the quiet. They arrived by sunset. The cabin stood alone, surrounded by endless pine trees. It looked smaller than he remembered, tilted slightly, like the forest had grown around it. Michael parked the truck, stretched his legs, and smiled. All right, kiddo, home for the weekend. Lily hopped out and ran ahead, the toy still clutched in her hand. The door creaked when they opened it. Inside, the air smelled like dust and old wood, but the photos were still on the walls. His father's, his mother's, and one of himself as a boy, standing where Lily now stood. He knelt down beside her. That's Grandpa, when I was about your age. Lily looked at the picture, then at him. Is Grandpa still here? Michael smiled faintly. No, sweetheart, he's gone. But he loved this place. That night they unpacked. Michael lit a fire while Lily played near the window, pressing her toy again and again. Who's outside? She said playfully. Who's outside? Who's outside? The bear's voice echoed through the cabin. It always repeated everything twice. An old voice chip design. Michael smiled. Let's keep that one inside, huh? She laughed and ran to him. He hugged her tight, breathing in the smell of her hair, vanilla and ash from the fire. It was the first time in months he'd felt. Okay. Later, when she was asleep, Michael stepped out onto the porch. The night was calm, cold, the kind of silence that felt heavy. He looked up at the stars, bright and endless, and whispered, Anna, I hope you can see her. The wind shifted. Somewhere deep in the woods, something cracked. He froze. Probably an animal, he told himself. A deer, maybe. But when he looked at the tree-line, he saw something he couldn't explain. A faint light, white, pulsing slowly between the trees. It wasn't a flashlight. It wasn't fire. It moved, back and forth, like it was searching for something. He went inside quietly and locked the door. Checked the windows twice, then sat beside Lily, watching her sleep. The bear lay on the floor beside her bed, its little red light glowing faintly in the dark. He picked it up. The button was still warm. He pressed it without thinking. The bear speaker crackled and played something he didn't expect. Not Lily's voice. His, Lily, don't move. The same phrase Daniel Ward would hear 21 years later. But back then, in 1992, Michael had no memory of ever recording it. He turned the toy over, confused. It clicked again, then played something else. Daddy? Who's outside? Who's outside? Who's outside? He looked toward the window. The light in the forest was gone, but the feeling of being watched, that stayed. He placed the toy on the nightstand and whispered to himself, It's just the woods. Then, barely audible beneath the soft crackle of the fire, the toy spoke once more, without being touched. It's not the woods. Michael froze. The toy's eyes flickered once, then went dark. He turned to check on Lily. She was still asleep, breathing softly, clutching her blanket, but on the glass beside her bed, a small handprint appeared in the frost. Not hers, bigger, and outside that window, something moved, slowly, silently, just beyond the tree line. By morning, the frost had melted, and the handprint was gone. Michael told himself it must have been his imagination, a shadow, a trick of light, maybe his own reflection. But the unease lingered like a weight behind his ribs. Lily was already outside when he woke, barefoot, playing near the tree-line, her pink bear sitting in the dirt beside her. He opened the cabin door. Hey, not too far, Lily. She turned and smiled. I'm not. He said, I can't cross the rocks anyway. Michael frowned. Who said that? She pointed toward the woods. The Echo Man. The words froze him in place. The who? Lily picked up the bear and pressed its heart. The toy chirped back in its cheerful mechanical tone. The Echo Man. Michael's stomach tightened. Sweetheart, where did you hear that? He talks funny, she said, still smiling. He says words twice. Like my bear. He tried to laugh it off. Probably your echo, huh? That's what happens when your voice bounces off the trees. But Lily shook her head. No, Daddy, he knows my name. That day, Michael busied himself with fixing up the old cabin. He chopped firewood, checked the generator, and pretended not to glance toward the treeline every few minutes. The forest was too quiet. Even the birds were gone. By sunset, Lily was inside coloring while her bear repeated nonsense phrases. Hello, 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 hello. She laughed every time. He tried to smile, but when he went outside to fetch more wood, he saw them. Footprints. Small at first, Lily's, but beside them, larger ones. Barefoot, human, leading from the trees straight to the porch, and stopping right beneath the window, the same window where the handprint had been. Michael followed the tracks back into the woods with flashlight. They led barely 10 feet before vanishing into the moss. No branches snapped, no signs of struggle. Just gone. He felt a pressure in the air, a static hum that made the hair on his neck rise. He turned off the flashlight to listen. Nothing. Then, a sound, a low voice carried by the wind. Michael, he spun around. The forest was empty. Who's there? Silence. Then, softly, from somewhere deeper in the trees. Michael, the exact same tone, the same inflection. An echo, but too precise to be natural. He shouted again. The voice came back, perfectly timed. Michael. And then, a second whisper, lower. Bring her back. Michael bolted for the cabin, slamming the door behind him. The fire had gone out. Lily was sitting on the floor, her toy in her lap, its red light blinking in rhythm. She looked up at him calmly. You saw him, didn't you? What are you talking about, Lily? The Echo Man, she said softly. He said you used to live here, too. Michael's chest tightened. That's enough. Stop it. But she just tilted her head. He says, Mommy's still out there. The toy suddenly crackled. A faint hiss of static. Then it repeated her words. Not in its usual childish tone, but in a voice far deeper. Mommy's still out there. Michael grabbed it, turned it over, slammed the switch off. But the bear spoke again, without power, without being touched. You shouldn't have brought her here. That night, Michael didn't sleep. He sat by the window, rifle in hand, watching the forest. Every so often, he'd hear faint laughter. Not Lily's, echoing laughter, warped, stretched, as if coming through a broken speaker. When dawn finally arrived, he stepped outside again. The air was still, too still, and the footprints, they were back. Dozens of them this time, circling the cabin, perfectly spaced, each one facing inward. Inside, Lily's voice recorder clicked on by itself. Daddy, Daddy? Then static, then a new recording, one neither of them had made. A man's voice. She's not your daughter anymore. Michael stared at the toy, his hand trembling. He turned it over, searching for a switch, a battery, something that made sense. There was nothing, just melted plastic under the red heart. And when he looked up, the window beside Lily's bed fogged again. This time, 2 handprints. One small, one large. Morning came like a lie. Golden sunlight spilled through the windows, warm and gentle, as if the night before had never happened. The woods outside looked calm again, normal. But Michael knew better. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard whispers looping in his head, his own voice, Lily's voice, and that other one, that low, grainy whisper. She's not your daughter anymore. It echoed like something alive, not a memory, not a dream, but a recording playing itself. He made breakfast in silence. Lily hummed to herself. Coloring on the table. The bear sat beside her plate, its red light flickering in short, irregular pulses. "Daddy," she asked softly, "are we leaving today?" He forced a smile. "Maybe later. I just need to fix a few things first." But he wasn't fixing anything. He was planning to leave. He'd already packed half their things. Quietly, trying not to alarm her, he told himself it was the right call. She needed safety, not mystery. Not this. After breakfast, he stepped outside with a toy in his hand. He wanted to destroy it. Smash it, burn it, bury it. Anything to silence that voice. But when he reached the edge of the porch, he stopped. The ground was disturbed again. The circle of footprints was gone, but something else replaced them. Symbols, carved into the dirt, carefully, deliberately, circles connected by lines. A pattern like sound waves, almost like a voice print, and at the center of it, a small pile of stones. The same kind his father used to build markers with when he hunted in these woods. Except these weren't his father's. Someone had placed them during the night, and one of the stones had the same red paint as Lily's toy. Michael knelt down and brushed away the dust. Beneath the stones, something was carved into ground. Letters. Just one word. Listen. The sound hit him immediately, not with his ears, but through the ground. A faint hum. Low, steady, vibrating up through his knees, into his chest. It was rhythmic, like breathing, like something asleep beneath the soil. He stood fast, heart racing, and turned back toward the cabin. Lily was at the door, watching him. Her bear hung loosely in one hand. "Daddy," she said quietly, "he told me not to go outside." "Who told you that, Lily?" "The Echo Man," she said again. "He said if you dig there, it wakes up." Michael swallowed hard. What wakes up? She looked down at the toy, pressed his heart. The bear crackled, then repeated her words in that same deep, broken voice. "It wakes up." That afternoon, Michael tried the radio again. No signal, just static. He flipped through every frequency, and for a moment, one of them caught something. A child's laughter, then a whisper, then silence again. He slammed the switch off. The static didn't stop. It was coming from outside now. He grabbed his rifle and stepped out onto the porch. The air was heavy. The wood swayed slowly, but no wind touched his face. And then he saw them. Carvings. Every tree surrounding the cabin, marked with the same pattern. Circles, lines, perfectly etched into the bark, like sound diagrams. Hundreds of them. And in the center of each, a single word, different for every tree. Echo. Voice. Listen. Return. He turned toward the cabin, fear rising like bile. The toy was lying on the windowsill, its red light blinking faster now. A warning heartbeat. He reached for it, and the toy spoke. "He's behind you." Michael spun around, rifle raised, but the yard was empty. Just trees, just shadows. Then, from somewhere deep in the woods, came the faint click of a recording button. Click, click, followed by his own voice, repeating back, "He's behind you." Then laughter, the kind a child makes when they're playing hide and seek. But Lily was inside. Michael rushed in, heart pounding. "Lily, stay close to me." She looked up, startled. "Daddy, I didn't go outside." "It's okay," he said, kneeling. "We're leaving. Right now." She nodded slowly, but then her gaze shifted past him, toward the wall behind the fireplace. "Daddy, what is it?" "The wall's talking." He turned. There, carved faintly into the old wood, were lines, faint, jagged, drawn with something sharp. Words, dozens of them, written over each other, barely legible, but one stood out clearly. IT learns their voice. The fire crackled behind him. Lily's toy clicked once. It learns their voice. The bear repeated softly. Then the voice changed. Not mechanical. Not human. A blend of both. A chorus. It learned yours. The window shattered. A cold wind blew through the cabin, snuffing out the fire. Lily screamed. Michael grabbed her, holding her tight as the toy hit the floor. Still talking. Don't move. Don't move. The same phrase from the recording Daniel Ward found decades later. Only now, Michael knew he hadn't said it that night. Something else had. The forest didn't want them to leave. That was Michael's first thought when he realized the road had vanished. He'd packed their things in silence, grabbed the truck keys, and carried Lily out the front door before dawn, before the sun could rise, before the whispering could start again. The plan was simple. Drive back to town. Never come back. But the forest had other plans. The dirt road that led to the cabin, the only road in or out, was gone. In its place stood trees. Dozens of them. Thick, ancient, uncut. He stopped the truck, staring in disbelief. No, this isn't possible. Lily clutched her bear to her chest. Daddy maybe grew back. He shook his head. Trees don't grow overnight. He stepped out, walked forward, and touched one of the trunks. The bark was warm, almost pulsing. When he pulled his hand back, his fingertips were covered in a fine layer of ash, like the remains of something burned long ago. They tried another path, and another. Each one curved back toward the cabin. No matter which direction they turned, the forest folded on itself, leading them home again. By midday, Michael's voice was raw from shouting. Every echo came back wrong. Slower, lower, as if the trees themselves were answering. Daddy, Lily whispered, why won't let us go? He didn't have an answer. He didn't even have a direction anymore. Just the cabin, always waiting for them at the end of every path. That night, they camped by the truck, too afraid to go back inside. Lily fell asleep against his chest, the toy bear still blinking faintly beside her. Michael stayed awake, listening to the forest breathe. It was subtle, like the sound of wind through leaves, but with a rhythm, a pulse, and underneath it, he swore he could hear a voice. Faint, almost human. Michael, he turned his head sharply. Nothing but trees. Michael, he stood, grabbed the flashlight, sweeping it through the woods. The light caught something, a shape, someone standing between the trees. He froze. It was a man, tall, still, facing him. The figure didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. Michael lifted the flashlight higher, his heart slamming against his ribs. The beam hit the figure's face, and his stomach dropped. It was him, the same face, same jacket, same eyes staring back in shock. The figure tilted its head, slowly, perfectly mirroring his own movement. Then, without a sound, it stepped backward and vanished into the dark. Michael stumbled back toward the truck. Lily was awake now, crying quietly. Daddy, the bear's talking again. He looked down. The toy's light was flashing faster now, like it was recording something. It's okay, he said. We'll fix it later. But Daddy, she whispered, it's not saying what I said. He grabbed the toy, pressed a button. Static, then his own voice, but different, rough, breathing heavy. Don't follow me. Then another line, spoken in a whisper that wasn't his. She already has. He threw the bear into the woods. It landed with a soft thud, then went quiet. He turned to Lily. We're leaving on foot. But, Daddy, what about the truck? Forget the truck. They ran, through branches, over roots, their footsteps echoing in perfect sync. But then Lily stopped. Daddy? Keep going. No, listen. He turned. The forest was repeating their steps. Every crunch of leaves, every breath, but half a second late, as if something unseen was mimicking them. They pushed deeper into the trees, until the forest opened into a clearing. At its center stood something unnatural, a circle of stones, each carved with the same spiral symbol he'd seen near the cabin. And in the middle of that circle lay the toy, perfectly intact. Its speaker buzzed faintly. And then, "Daddy, where you?" Lily froze. "That's me," she whispered. "But I never said that." Michael picked it up with shaking hands. The voice changed again. "You can't leave. You can't leave." Then silence. He dropped the bear. The ground beneath the stones trembled. A faint hum rose from below, the same low frequency he'd felt near the porch. Lily grabbed his hand. "Daddy, let's go." He turned toward the woods, but the trees were closing in, slowly, silently, the gaps between them shrinking like a door being shut. And from somewhere deep in the earth, a voice whispered through the soil, "You brought her back." Michael pulled Lily close, his breath trembling. He didn't know what to do. There was no road, no sky, just walls of endless green closing around them. Then Lily's toy clicked one last time. "If you hear this," it was his voice again, but softer, sad. "I'm sorry." The toy shut off, and the forest fell completely silent. By morning, the clearing was empty. No truck, no cabin, no footprints. Just the toy, half buried in the dirt, its heart still faintly red. And from somewhere far beneath the earth, the sound of a man's voice played on a loop. "Lily, don't move." The fire began in late summer 2013. Dry lightning hit the northern edge of the Kaibab forest, and within hours, the flames spread for miles. By morning, the sky had turned to smoke. A red haze swallowed the sun, and the sound of crackling trees rolled across the valley like thunder. Fire crews worked through the night, carving fire breaks, cutting lines, fighting the inferno back 1 yard at a time. But in the chaos, they stumbled across something they hadn't expected to find, something that shouldn't have survived. When the smoke cleared, a small clearing revealed itself at the base of an old ridge, the remains of a cabin, barely visible under blackened ash and twisted iron. The walls were gone, the foundation sunken, the earth around it scorched to glass. Among the debris, a young firefighter named Evan Rice spotted a flicker of color. Pink. Melted. He knelt down and brushed away soot with his gloves. It was a toy, a bear, its face half melted, its belly cracked open, but the red heart still intact. "What's that?" his partner asked. Evan turned it over. Old voice recorder. From the 90s, maybe. The bear's eye socket glowed faintly. Just once. Then went dark. A week later, the toy ended up at the county evidence lab in Flagstaff. At first, no one thought much of it. Just another burned relic from another forgotten tragedy. But when they cataloged the find, they noticed something odd. The voice chip wasn't completely destroyed. The data had survived, and so the file was handed to a technician, the same man who, months later, would regret ever pressing play. Daniel Ward. Daniel had worked with fire-damaged media before. Black boxes, melting cassette reels, devices that shouldn't hold sound anymore, but somehow did. He'd seen everything. Until now, the voice chip was old but readable. He connected it to a digital converter, ran a diagnostics test, and waited. The waveform appeared. A long, continuous line, not multiple recordings. Just one. Nearly 8 hours long. He frowned. Those toys couldn't store more than 30 seconds. He hit play. At first, there was static, the slow hiss of melted circuits trying to speak. Then a sound broke through. Breathing, a man's breathing. Shaky, desperate. "If you're hearing this, please, just tell her I didn't mean to leave." Daniel sat forward, recognizing the same voice he'd heard months earlier, when he first powered up the chip. "Lily, listen to me." The recording cracked. the pitch warped. They aren't echoes. They're memories. Then a faint noise behind him. A small girl's voice, distant, barely audible. Daddy, who's outside? The same phrase. Over and over. Daddy, who's outside? Daddy, who's outside? Each time, her voice grew quieter, like she was moving farther away. Then, through the static, another voice. Deeper, colder, not human. She's home now. Daniel's headphones popped from the feedback. He jumped, heart pounding. He replayed the last 30 seconds, thinking it was corruption, some digital glitch. But it wasn't. The second voice had a pattern, cadence, emotion, like it was responding to the man's words. He isolated the channels, filtered the noise, and played the clean version. This time, he heard everything. Lily, if you hear this. She's home now. Stay away from the tree line. She's not your daughter anymore. Daniel ripped off his headphones. His pulse thundered in his ears. He ran the metadata, checked every log, every possible time signature. The original recording, 1992, but the overlay voice, the second speaker, had a timestamp, 2013, 21 years later. The same week the fire unearthed the toy. He stared at the screen. The file name changed by itself, automatically, from rec_1992_final to active. Then, without command, the program started playback again, this time skipping ahead. A new section of audio, fresh, undamaged. Daniel froze as the waveform scrolled by. Someone was speaking again. It's dark here. A pause. I hear her voice. Another pause. Then softer. It found us again. The voice wasn't the father's this time. It was newer, older. It was Daniel's. The screen glitched. The speaker hissed. And through the static came the faint sound of a child laughing, followed by the click of a recording button. Click, click. Then Lily's voice, cheerful, distorted. Say it again, Daddy. And his reply, overlapping through decades. Don't follow me. The recording cut out. The toy's red heart blinked once, twice, then stayed lit. Daniel leaned forward slowly. The audio meter on his screen moved again, though nothing was playing. A new frequency. Low, steady, coming from somewhere nearby. He realized the sound wasn't from the file. It was coming from the toy itself. The melted speaker crackled, and for the first time in 21 years, it spoke clearly. He shouldn't have brought her here. Daniel dropped it. The light didn't fade. It brightened, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then one more phrase, spoken softly through static. She's waiting. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He tried, but every time his eyes closed, he heard the toy's voice again. That same whisper crawling out of static. She's waiting. The words didn't sound like a message anymore. They sounded like a direction. By morning, he'd made his decision. He was going to the forest, to the same spot where the fire crews found the toy. He needed to see what was left. He needed to know why a voice from 1992 could still be speaking in 2013, and why, somehow, it now knew his name. The forest looked different after the fire. Charred trees stood like black skeletons against the pale sky. The air smelled of wet ash and pine resin. The ground was brittle under his boots, every step crunching over years of burnt history. The GPS led him to a small clearing just beyond the ridge, the same one in the report. He found the outline of the old cabin foundation, half buried in soot and moss. There was barely anything left, just stone and bone. And as he stood there, the world felt wrong. No birds, no wind, only the faint hum of something mechanical, like a recording device that never turned off. Daniel crouched, brushing the dirt with his gloves. The soil shimmered slightly, thin veins of melted glass beneath the surface. He brushed deeper. Something metallic glinted below. He dug it out carefully. A voice chip, same model as the first one, half melted, still connected to a corroded wire. But this one wasn't attached to the Pink Bear. It was attached to something else, something larger, a recorder, an old handheld model from the early 90s. The initials scratched on the back read, MR, Michael Reynolds. Daniel sat back, stunned. It was impossible. The father's voice recorder. Still here. Still intact. He plugged his portable decoder into it, hooked his headphones, and hit play. Static. A few seconds of silence. Then a deep breath. Michael's voice. If anyone finds this, please tell my daughter I tried. Another breath. Shaky. The woods, they record you. Every word. Every sound. It's like they need a voice to live inside. The audio crackled. Something knocked against the recorder. A hollow, rhythmic sound. I thought it was an echo, Michael said. But it's not. Then silence. Faint wind. And Lily's laughter in the background. Daddy? Lily, stay close to me. I can hear Mommy. Michael's breathing quickened. That's not Mommy. Daniel's hand trembled as he adjusted the gain. More static. More distortion. But behind it, he heard something else. Something that didn't belong in any recording. A whisper. Low. Distorted. Repeating. It learns their voice. Over and over. Layering. Growing. Until it filled both ears like a chant. Daniel ripped the headphones off. But the whisper didn't stop. It was coming from the ground. He stumbled backward, eyes scanning the black soil. The sound was coming from beneath the cabin foundation. A low vibration. Steady. Alive. He grabbed his shovel and started to dig. Every scoop of earth released more of that faint static, like peeling back the skin of a broken radio. A few feet down, his shovel hit something hard. He brushed away the dirt. Another toy. Same design. Same red heart. Melted almost beyond recognition. He lifted it carefully. Its eyes were gone. Its body warped into a half-human shape from the fire. But the moment he touched it, it clicked and spoke. Don't dig. Daniel dropped it. The sound echoed through the clearing, not like a toy's voice, but like something imitating one. The words played again, slower this time. Don't dig. Then deeper. He's still here. The soil trembled beneath him. He fell backward as the ground shifted, and for a split second, he thought he saw a movement beneath the glassy dirt. A shape, human, pressed into the earth. A man's face, mouth open, eyes wide, frozen in the moment of a scream. Daniel stumbled to his feet, backing away slowly. The forest was silent again. Even the wind had stopped. He grabbed the recorder, stuffed it into his bag, and turned to leave. But his radio crackled to life. A faint voice. Daniel. He froze. Who is this? Don't come looking. Static, then silence. He tore the radio from his vest, but the voice continued, now from the toy. Don't come looking. It played again and again, each time fainter, until the toy went quiet. And when Daniel looked back one last time, the foundation was gone. Just soil, smooth, undisturbed, as if it had never been dug at all. He ran until his lungs burned, until the trees thinned, until he saw the first strip of asphalt through the smoke. Only then did he look at the recorder again. Its indicator light was flashing, recording. He hadn't touched it, hadn't pressed anything. He lifted it to his ear, and through the faint hum, he heard a little girl's voice. Say it again, Daddy. Then his own voice, recorded moments earlier. Who's there? And finally, a whisper that made his blood run cold. You are. Daniel didn't go straight home. He couldn't. He drove aimlessly for hours. Headlights cutting through the smoke and night. Hands trembling on the steering wheel. The recorder sat in the passenger seat, beside him, wrapped in a torn evidence bag. every few minutes. It clicked, like something inside was still moving. He tried not to listen, tried not to think about the face beneath the soil. But the sound followed him. That whisper that wasn't quite human. It learns their voice. By the time he got back to his apartment, the world outside felt quieter than it should have been. No traffic, no neighbors, just that hum. He placed the recorder on his desk. It was still flashing red, still recording. He hesitated, then pressed stop. The light didn't change. It stayed on, steady, unblinking, like it was waiting. He booted up his laptop, connected the device, and pulled the audio files into his program. The latest file was already labeled, not rec_0001 or active, just one word, home. He clicked it. The waveform filled the screen, long, layered, alive, more complex than anything the old recorder could have produced. The file length read midnight, but the sound was already playing. A soft crackle, then breathing, slow, uneven. He leaned closer. The first voice was his own. Who's there? The same words he'd said hours ago in the forest. But then, a second voice. Not an echo, an answer. You are. Daniel's blood ran cold. He scrubbed backward on the file, replayed it. The words repeated. But each time, the voice changed slightly. On the third playback, it wasn't his voice anymore. It was Michael's. You are. And layered behind him, a child's laughter. Lily. He pushed away from the desk, heart pounding. No, this is impossible. He ripped the recorder cable out of the laptop. The screen went black, but the sound didn't stop. Now it was coming from the speakers themselves. Say it again, Daddy. He turned off the power strip, unplugged everything. Still, the voice played, soft, distant. Say it again, Daddy. He looked around the room. The toy, the melted pink bear he'd brought from Evidence, was sitting on the shelf behind him. He hadn't put it there. He stared at it, frozen. The heart was glowing red again. He picked it up, hands shaking. How the hell are you doing this? The toy clicked once, then twice, then spoke. But this time, it didn't use Lily's voice. It used his. How the hell are you doing this? The exact same tone, same fear, same breath. It wasn't repeating anymore. It was copying. Daniel dropped it, but it kept talking, cycling through sounds it shouldn't have had. Whispers, footsteps, his own breathing from the drive home. Then, a new voice layered beneath them. Calm, cold, patient. She's not gone. He froze. What? You heard her. Who are you? Silence. Then, you brought her home. The screen on his laptop flickered to life again. The folder had changed names. From home to room_Mike. It began creating new files, one after another, each labeled by time. 23 hours, 41 minutes, and 12 seconds. 23 hours, 41 minutes, and 13 seconds. 23 hours, 41 minutes, and 14 seconds. Every second, a new file appeared, and when he clicked one open, he heard it, his own breathing, recorded in real time. Even as he sat perfectly still, he covered his mouth, but the sound continued. He unplugged the mic, but the feed didn't stop. It wasn't recording him anymore. It was listening to him. The toy's voice grew louder now, its tone warping, mimicking the sound of two people speaking at once. She's here. Daniel spun around, but the room was empty. Who's here? The toy's speaker crackled again. Lily. His stomach dropped. That's not possible. She wants to talk. Talk to who? To you. The lights flickered. His laptop beeped. A new folder appeared. Rec_2013_Lily. He opened it without thinking. The audio played instantly. Lily's voice. Older now. Different. Daddy said it's dark here. He said I should stay close. Daniel's hands shook. "What are you?" he whispered. "You found my toy." "That's not." "Thank you." Static burst through the speakers, loud enough to make him flinch. When it cleared, he heard footsteps right behind him. Slow, deliberate. He turned. Nothing, just the open hallway. But on his computer screen, the camera feed had turned on. A live window. The lens pointed at him from across the room, and behind his reflection, a faint figure stood in the doorway. Small, still, holding something in her hand. A melted pink bear. Daniel's voice cracked. "Lily?" The speakers hissed. "You shouldn't have come." Then every light in the room went out. The laptop screen flashed one final time. A message appeared, typed slowly, letter by letter. Recording in progress. When the police finally entered Daniel Ward's apartment, he'd been missing for 3 days. The neighbors said they hadn't seen him leave. The front door was locked from the inside. The windows were sealed. And yet he was gone. No struggle. No signs of forced entry. Just his laptop, still running. And the faint, rhythmic hum of a melted toy, blinking red on the floor beside it. Detective Claire Henley was first on scene. She'd worked missing person cases for 15 years. But there was something about this one that felt heavier. When she entered the room, the air was cold, not the kind of cold from open windows or busted vents. A deep, damp chill, like being inside stone. The laptop screen was still active. One folder was open. Dozens of files lined the screen. All recent, all labeled the same way. Recording in progress. And every one of them was time-stamped to a time after Daniel had vanished. Jesus, her partner muttered. He was still recording? Claire leaned closer. No, the recorder was. She clicked the newest file. The waveform stretched long and steady, as if it hadn't stopped in days. The first sound that came through was breathing, slow, uneven, human. Then Daniel's voice. "I hear her. She's not a sound. She's the space between them." Static followed, then silence, then a child's voice. Faint, clear. "Say it again, Daddy." Claire stiffened. "Pause that," she said. The tech froze the playback. "That voice, it's the same one from the 1992 file." "What 1992 file?" "The one that came in with the evidence from Kaibab." Claire's chest tightened. "The toy." The tech nodded slowly. "It's right there." He pointed to the melted pink bear on the desk. The same one recovered from the cabin. The same one Daniel had taken home. She picked it up gently, turning it over. The plastic was warped beyond shape, but the red heart still pulsed faintly. On, off, in the rhythm of a heartbeat. When she set it down, the speakers crackled. A man's voice filled the room. Soft, broken. "If you're hearing this, tell her I didn't mean to leave." Daniel's voice. Faint, distorted, but unmistakable. Then a new voice. One no one recognized. Older, tired. "You shouldn't have brought her here." The tech frowned. "What the hell is that?" Claire didn't answer. She was staring at the screen, because a new file had just appeared, without anyone touching the computer. Lily_2024_final.mp3. The timestamp was from today. She double-clicked it. The audio started instantly. A long stretch of silence. Then a faint hum. Then breathing. A man's voice again. "It's still here. I thought if I destroyed it, it would stop. But it doesn't stop." A pause. "It's in the recordings." "It is the recordings." The voice wasn't Daniel's anymore. It was Michael's. Claire stepped back. This isn't possible." The voice continued. "I hear her laughing. She doesn't grow older. She just repeats." The hum deepened. Static rippled across the speakers. Then Lily's voice cut through, clearer than before. Daddy? Another pause. Then softer. He's here too. The toy on the table clicked. Everyone froze. The red light grew brighter, flickering in time with the voices. Then, without warning, it played a new recording, not from the file, but from the room itself. Claire's own voice. He's here too. Her hand flew to her mouth. What? The tech hit stop. Nothing happened. He yanked the power cord. The screen stayed lit. The toy spoke again. It learns their voice. Every monitor in the room flickered to life. Lines of text scrolled down each screen, filling the dark. Echo __ active. Recording in progress. Mic input detected. Claire shouted, "Kill the power." The lights went out instantly. The room plunged into black. Only the toy's red glow remained. And from within that glow, a faint reflection formed on a laptop screen. A figure, tall, human, standing directly behind Claire. The tech's voice shook. "Detective, don't move." But she couldn't. She was frozen, because the reflection wasn't a man. It was her. Same jacket, same hair, same terrified eyes. And when she opened her mouth to scream, the reflection moved first. "Say it again, Daddy." The toy went dark. The laptop shut off. The room fell silent. When the power came back on minutes later, the station was empty. No sign of Claire. No sign of the toy. Just a computer, still running. The screen showing one last line of text. Rec_2024_ detective_Henley.mp3. That was the last file ever found on Daniel Ward's hard drive. Investigators later confirmed it contained over 21 hours of audio, a continuous recording that never stopped. But no one's ever played it all the way through, because according to the logs, the file is still updating, still growing, still recording, even now, and somewhere deep in the Kaibab forest, beneath ash and glass and silence, a faint red light still blinks, on, off, in perfect rhythm with a voice whispering through the dirt. "Say it again, Daddy."